The new relic teas for 1.5 just dropped, and they look pretty good. If you've been farming this game for a super long time and you just got settled on your relics for like your TOPAZ, your Clara, your KAFKA, your other dot characters, like this might seem a little scary to you that they're now getting potentially dedicated sets, but let me talk you through them. We're gonna go over every single character that benefits from the new sets and whether or not they're actually gonna be worth farming. My name is Braxophone. I haven't done a video on camera in a very long time because I'm not good at speaking, but it's okay. My wife is here to comfort me along the way. So all of this information is actually available to you in game right now. All you have to do is go over to your in-game notices, new stages for version 1.5, and then world 8 details as well, because there's new planar sets too that we're also going to talk about. So the question on everyone's mind is, are these two sets going to be upgrades for current characters, or are they sets that are coming out for new characters? So let's take a look. The first set we're going to talk about is the Ashblazing Grand Duke set, which is going to be a follow-up attack damage set. It's going to give you 20% follow-up attack damage on the 2-piece, and on the 4-piece, it's going to be when the wearer uses follow-up attacks against the target enemy, increases the wearer's attack by 6% for every time the follow-up attack deals damage. This effect can stack for a maximum of 8 times and last for 3 turns, and it's removed the next time you use a follow-up attack. So one thing about this set is that it is actually a little bit confusing how it's worded. To make it very clear to you guys, this attack stacks up every single time you deal an instance of damage. So characters like TOPAZ and Numby, where there's multiple hits going off at once, that's multiple stacks of this that you're getting. So it's actually fine that the effect is removed the next time you use a follow-up attack, because you're able to get multiple stacks in one follow-up attack depending on the character. Now with that said, it also means that certain characters actually don't use this very well. And it's also worth noting that there are already good sets out there for a lot of characters that use follow-up attacks. So who's it actually going to be good for? Well, the 2-piece is going to be good across the board for most follow-up attack users. I would say characters like Clara can actually benefit from this a little bit just on the 2-piece set, because it's going to increase follow-up attack damage, and follow-up attack damage is so much of Clara's personal damage that this could actually be an upgrade just the 2-piece. However, Clara wouldn't really benefit from the 4-piece because Clara's hits can hit multiple enemies, but without enhancements, she is just a single target follow-up attacker. So she's only going to be getting like 6% attack for a lot of the time, and then sometimes she'll get 18% attack, but it's not going to be consistent enough to actually be a strict upgrade. So something like 2-piece follow-up, 2-piece physical could be really good on her, or you can use a quantum set against quantum weak enemies. Like there's so many other sets you could use on Clara and get a lot of value out of. The only benefit she gets really, in my opinion, is going to be the 2-piece. But there are a few characters that the 4-piece can be good for, and one of those characters is going to actually be JINGyuan. So JINGyuan's gotten some flack. I don't know what to say about it really. So some content creators said JINGyuan's not that good, and then some people that play JINGyuan were like really mad about it, and so they kind of went after the content creators, and the content creators had like a war with like an invisible force. It was kind of weird. I don't really get it. I always felt like JINGyuan was like fine. I just think erudition itself is like not super good, but a lot of JINGyuan's damage is follow-up attack damage, and because Lightning Lord can hit everyone and does a ton of instances of damage, you can actually stack up this attack like a ton. And between Lightning Lord's attacks, you're actually going to keep that attack bonus up until the next follow-up attack, which is insane. So you're getting a ton of attack bonus on JINGyuan, and then you also get the 20% follow-up damage. It doesn't seem like a massive increase in damage, probably looking at like 5 to 10% over the lightning set, but it's still pretty solid. And you can benefit from this if you want to make your JINGyuan stronger, so it's something to consider. I think Herta could also benefit from this a little bit, but she's probably going to be more optimized on speed, attack, and ice, like mixed 2-piece sets, just because she's really reliant on a specific thing happening to trigger her follow-ups, and it's not like a consistent trigger. Speaking of characters that no one plays, Himiko could actually benefit from this a little bit as well. As you know, during follow-up attacks, Himiko actually hits a fair bit of times. The downside is that Himiko's entire gimmick isn't just follow-ups, right? Her ultimate and skill are not follow-up attacks, right? So using 2-piece of the fire set and then 2-piece with mixed other sets is still going to be really good on Himiko, and I don't have the calcs for her specifically, but it is something to consider at the very least, because she does get a lot of hits in and can stack it up. The last character that's going to really benefit from this is TOPAZ. And I talked about TOPAZ a little bit already, but Numby's going to deal a lot of hits with the follow-up attack. And since all of TOPAZ and Numby's damage is follow-up damage once you get all of her traces unlocked, you're basically getting a flat 20% damage bonus, but you're also getting attack up pretty frequently. Now, the downside is that if you use just a regular TOPAZ attack and Numby doesn't follow it up and get you a bunch of stacks, you will have like a round where you basically just have like 6% attack buff. It's not a huge deal. Like overall, it's still an increase for TOPAZ, probably around 10% off of her last best in slot set, but it's not as consistent as it kind of looks like it would be. Overall, Ashblazing Grand Duke is going to be good. The 2-piece is going to be good for Clara, and the 4-piece set's really going to be good for JINGyuan and TOPAZ. So that's going to be the Fire Blazing set. Let's talk about the next one, which is going to be for dot characters. Now, I never thought dot characters really had any issues with their relics. They already kind of dealt decent damage, but look at this. So 2-piece increase attack by 12%. Dot characters benefit from that. That's great. 4-piece set. For every dot the target enemy is afflicted with, the wearer will ignore 6% of target's defense when dealing damage to them. The effect is valid for a max of 3 dots. So this to me is like pretty crazy because it's basically just defense ignore, right? You have a character that's a dot character that adds a vulnerability, YUAN. You have characters that lower defense that are nihility. You have a light cone that lowers defense. You have light cones that increase damage bonus. Like, one of the debates in the community was about whether or not you play buffs with dot characters, but this is a pretty solid buff for dot characters as is. Like, you don't necessarily need to play absurd defense shred with them or anything like that. The characters that are going to benefit from the most, characters like Serval, who's an erudition, but you know, basically could be a nihility character if we're just going off of dots alone. KAFKA mains are going to rejoice and enjoy this a lot. Luca, YUAN, and the rat that keeps showing up in my polls. All of those characters are attack scaling and all of them have dots, so they can all benefit from this a fair bit, and likely it's going to be a damage increase for basically all of them. The defense ignore is really big. Up to 18% defense ignore is going to stack up like crazy. The amount of damage that dot characters can do with this over their other sets is going to be pretty dang crazy. But I think actually what I'm more excited about with this dot set is the fact that we have another 12% attack bonus set, because having another attack bonus on another 2-piece set means that we can basically run 2 attack bonus sets and get 24% attack just on relics. And that's going to be good on just like most characters. Any character that scales on attack is going to benefit from that a lot. And you see that a lot in Genshin. People mix Shimenawa, they mix Gladiator, they mix Echoes, they mix like a ton of other sets that have like attack bonus, and they're just good filler sets for like most characters. So this is actually really good. This means that if you farmed a bunch of Wild Wheat and then you go to farm this for like a follow-up attacker or for your KAFKA, because I know you're simping, then you can actually get some more 2-piece attack bonus sets, and if you get some good crit stats on there, you can use that on like other characters as well, which is nice. On all these sets, not the planar sets, but these specific sets I think are a pretty decent addition to the game. You're gonna see some characters get some upgrades. I don't think this is something where you're gonna have to refarm no matter what. Like, you can probably still use the sets that you have on right now, but they will be upgrades for specific characters. Basically every dot character can use Prisoner, and then Ash plays in Grand Duke, that's gonna be an upgrade for JINGYuan, TOPAZ, and then the 2-piece is gonna be good for Clara. So the other exciting thing about this next patch is gonna be these 2 new Planar Ornament sets. In World Level 8, I think we finally get to beat up Yenching, which is cool. The 2 new planar sets that we have are actually pretty dang good. This is going to be something you're probably going to farm for a while. Reason being that they add a lot of damage to your team, and I think that some people might be disappointed because they already farmed a bunch of Rudolent. Don't worry, your Rudolent's not out of commission. Your Rudolent is fine. But let's move on to the first one. So Panakani, Land of the Dream. So this is basically like Sprightly Von Walk for the 2-piece, where you're getting energy regen for 5%. But this one, instead of just moving your action forward, this is a team-wide buff that's based on the damage type that the wearer has. So increase damage for all other allies with the same damage type as the wearer by 10%. 10% doesn't seem like a lot, but if you consider like the fact that it's kind of free, like you don't really have to give up much. If your character needs energy regen, if they're a support character, they can use this, and then they can give your on-fielder some damage bonus. One example would be like Ho-Ho, who's coming out soon. If you put this on Ho-Ho and then you played Blade as a main DPS, you can have 10% more wind damage on Blade. And I also am under the impression, I don't actually have to know this confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that if this is like Fleet of the Ageless, or if this is like Broken Keel, you can just stack this bonus, right? So if you played Mono Quantum and you put this on 3 characters, you could get 30% quantum damage bonus, which I think is just kind of funny, to be honest. I think that this set is one that you will actually want to use, but the best part about this set is not necessarily that it's good, but the best part is that it comes with another really good set. So farming World 8 is going to be really, really efficient for you, because the planar set Firmament Frontline Glamoth is basically going to give you just a blanket attack buff on your character, and then a bunch of blanket damage bonus based on their speed. Now, one thing that I noticed immediately while looking at this, 135 speed is the low threshold, 160 is the high threshold, is 12%, 18% more damage. I don't believe anybody is going to truly go for 160 on their character without buffs. It's pretty feasible and likely that you could get 135 on your DPS. That's not like a problem. My Jingnu on my free-to-play has 135, and my Jingnu on my paid has like 151 or something. So this is a pretty reasonable amount of speed to get without buffs. 160 is a little bit tougher to get without buffs, but if you're playing with Asta, or if you're playing Messenger set, or if you're playing other kind of speed buffs, 160 is attainable too. I think the important thing about this though is, after calculations, it seems like a lot of characters for Glamoth are actually able to get more total damage off of this 12% than some of them are able to get off of things like Rudolent. And the reason is because it's damage across the board. It's ultimate damage, it's skill damage, it's basic attack damage, it's just damage in general. general. All your follow-up damage increased, all your ultimate damage increased. It's all going up by 12%, and it has a 12% attack buff. So combined with the attack buff and with the 12% just at 135 speed, this set ends up being really, really good. Now, with that said, it is important to recognize that, like, if you have trouble building crit, or if your crit ratio is bad from switching sets, this is not going to be more damage. You'd have to have like an equal set of Glamoth to your Rudolent set in order to actually make this deal more damage. When I say equal, I mean not including the Rudolent stats, right? Like if you had an equal amount of crit subs on your Glamoth and an equal amount of crit subs on your Rudolent Arena set, then this would actually be better on a lot of characters. And it's not by a ton. It's not like this set's like way better, like everyone should use it. It's just like slightly better on a lot of characters than Rudolent is, but it's not so slightly better that you absolutely need to farm it. I think the benefit of these two sets is that they're both farmable together, right? Panakane is going to be a good set if you have a support that can wear it that matches your DPS type, and Glamoth is going to be good for any character that, I mean, just wants damage bonus that does damage. As long as the character is fast, this is a good general set to throw on anyone. It's not limited to skill. It's not limited to ultimate. You can just throw it on anyone and it's 12% damage bonus, and that's really nice. And if you play with Asta, you get 18% damage bonus, and that's pretty crazy. So ultimately, these sets are not like massive upgrades that you have to farm for no matter what, but they are a little bit better for some of the characters in the game that we already have. On characters like Ciela, who buff themselves with speed, Glamoth might actually end up being better than Rudolent Arena. On characters like Jinglu, even like this 12% is even slightly better on Jinglu because of her ult as well. Like characters that have ultimates that deal like a fair bit of damage that were using Rudolent before now can benefit from this because they get that attack, but they're also getting a little bit of damage bonus on their ultimate as well, and across an entire fight that can add up. So that's just something worth thinking about. I'm not saying go replace everything and go farm like nuts, but they are pretty good sets, and I do recommend farming World 8 at the very least. So with that said, everyone, thank you guys so much for watching, and look at this, my Jinglu can see her phone. Did you guys notice that? Did you guys notice that she took her blindfold off? It's because we're married. Anyways, like the video, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!